Islam, Monarch.
Islam.
My question today is on land. Now, I remember back a couple of Earth years ago, certain particular parties told me that and this is going on the temple side of things, so bear with me. That Moors can't come together to grab land, and so forth. But they also talking about they had a colony, a so-called Moorish colony down in the south, somewhere around so-called Virginia, or around further down those so-called states.
I don't know about any states. Don't know what Virginia is, but you said grab land, a Moors colony.
Yeah, they actually have this so-called colonies where have the farm animals and stuff of that nature. My question is to you, as much as you can go into it, not really so much the process of how one lawfully has land, but some of the issues of having that land and maintenance thereof when you have land, not just as opposed to like really having land than just a so-called colony that you're looking after.
You talking about land from a collective basis or an individual basis? Yes, it appears to be you're talking about collective. Yeah. I just want to clarify.
Because first on an individual basis, because a lot of people like to deal with the issue with the individual basis, then as a collective whole, as far as the people is concerned, connected to a land mass.
Well, people or folks, first of all. But more importantly, look, as you just explained it, that's the very problem right there. Folks have it backwards. They want to do it individual as opposed to collective first. And that's not how it flies.
Yeah, that's a lot where I get. They want to privately hold their own land and say, well, this is mine and you can't touch it. I'm going to put a border around this.
So they always put the cart before the horse. They want to talk about land issues, but don't want to have the infrastructure that takes care of everything associated with land. This is basically the fundamental problem that the Moors have been facing in general. I'm not going to speak in specific terms. Although you raised the temple, I'm not going to go into things regarding the temple. I'll just say folks in general that happen to be of the Moor persuasion or those who come from a more center of gravity. That said, the land issue on a collective basis is the easiest thing to address. The hard part is having enough folks well trained to sustain it. Land? Really? I can't go into certain things right now, but the best way I can say it to you is, if you're going to acquire land, take on land to make improvements on said land, you're going to be required to be prudent, which means you should have folks who are well versed, well trained in all manner of land management, in all manner of conservation and preservation of said ecosystem on said land. In other words, the environment, so that it's not a fleeting issue but can last for generations. You're talking about being able to secure it. You're talking about sanitation. You're talking about sewage, power generation, and on and on and on. That takes infrastructure. Now, I can't speak for other houses within the Amexem-Moor-Empire. We already have that. Other parties, what they do is what they do. But in terms of being able to do that on an individual basis, folks are on this thing about, well, I'm sovereign. I'm like, no, it'll be a we are sovereign scenario. Because you're only as sovereign as your ability to stay awake and to feed yourself. As soon as you close your eyes, someone has the opportunity to hit you in the head with a brick. So that's not really true sovereignty. That's limited sovereignty. And it's beholden to someone else not hitting you inside your head or hoping that someone will come hit you inside your head. So it goes back to I always speak to our folks in general can't think beyond 20 minutes. Land, if you got folks well trained, you have several departments and sub-departments operational underway with your protocols, procedures, and your manuals, everything well in place, particular training is available, as well as the advanced training for folks to handle particular responsibilities in your departments and sub-departments. Now, you can discuss securing some land long term. When folks are talking about, I'm going to take this little piece here or this little piece there. All right, you took a piece here and you took a piece there. How do you hold on to it? if you take land and make it sovereign unto yourself, you can't make it use of somebody else's sewage pipes unless you contract in. If you're going to be independent and sovereign, that defeats the purpose. So, I don't get the logic and the reason where folks are coming from. It's so much of the lower self, all about me mentality that folks don't think straight. And they make a mess. So you have folks that talk about they have a allodial title this and land patent that, and I crack up. I'm polite, but I crack up. So they got this straight. It's allodial how? How? They refer to places as so-called states and all this other stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Is this what your... Those who you descend from, is this what they called it? Really? If they didn't define it as that, then whose definition are you using? And are they even qualified or authorized to be able to label or designate or quote-unquote name a place? So I look at this and I don't see where our folks has got the caps on straight. I just don't. And they get themselves in harm's way. Now, there are a lot of folks that speak ill of particular things that we present, and I'm like, hey, do your thing. But I also say, do your independent research. Land is not the issue. Now, I don't have time to go into particular things, and I know this might be a little vague to some, and that's fine. But see, you see me on a regular basis, so you know, and there's things that I can present, there's things that we can go into that we have talked about in brief before. Well demonstrated upon. But this is not the time for me to be able to do that, because now you're talking about having to put on like a 45-minute lecture for the precursors. Not doing that right now. But land is something our folks are going to have to address from many perspectives, because there's many things getting ready to go down. Geopolitical realignment is coming down, and folks are going to... That's all I can really say for right now. I'll just leave it at that. But I do respect your question. I would just ask folks to do one thing. Think. Just think. And decades ago, Noble Drew Ali spoke to the issue of, what he could do with our folks if he can get them to think. And our folks, they don't think beyond themselves most of the time, and they don't think beyond 20 minutes. Now, this has to stop. So with that, I say peace and love in Islam.
Islam.